Guys, happy Thursday. I'm gonna try to get through this without coughing, so fingers crossed. But I'm super happy that everyone's on this call. Like, this month is already off to an amazing start. I can just feel the energy and the excitement across every team, and that just gets me even more excited to start the month and finish this year strong, guys. Like, this is the end of 2020, and we're gonna go into 2021 really strong. Which is kind of why we wanted to do this call, because I know everyone on this call is trying to build a bomb-ass team, and everyone on here is trying to recruit. So if you guys are going to be adding people to your team this month, you're going to be adding your dream girls. Put a 1 in the chat. I want to see who's adding a dream team person to their team this month. And I want to see a lot of 1s. Yes, I love it. All right, so when it comes to recruiting and adding people to our teams, I know like this is always like a hot topic, like how to recruit, how to get people, but this isn't about recruiting. This is about more of the leadership aspect of it, and the importance of when you are telling someone to come join my team and to believe in you and trust you to show them the way, that you're doing it. And you guys know I'm always the type of person to be raw and honest about my experience in the business. I'm learning just as much as you guys. And so I just wanted to share like my leadership journey personally with you guys, because I think it will really help you guys kind of just, understand like we're all growing and learning. You guys might see me running calls right now in power hours and showing up in the chat, but it wasn't always that way. I joined in and a little over a year ago, and I honestly had like 1 foot out the door. I was kind of like in and out, like I treated this like a hobby. I wasn't fully committed to like what this business was and what it could do for my life. And I didn't really like see the impact it could have on other people. Like I just like wasn't 100% invested, and it showed in how I showed up every single day, or the fact that I didn't show up every single day. And that's the honest to God truth. But when I look back and I look at that journey of me having 1 foot out and 1 foot in, it affected my business in so many ways, guys. So like when I brought on my first few business partners, I relied on my upline so much. Like Jamie basically did like everything for me. I was just like, okay, cool. Like you're going to do it. That's fine. And I wasn't taking the time to learn how to do it for myself. And I wasn't watching training videos. I wasn't trying to come up with my own process. I kind of was just like in the back seat being like someone else would do my business for me. And looking back, like I can see like how detrimental that was in my business. And I try to put expectations on my team and my downline of like, oh, like, guys, you need to do these things, but like I wasn't doing those things. So I had like all of these expectations, and I came in quote unquote as a leader. And I just like wasn't doing it the right way. And then one day I decided, it was probably after a call or a meeting with Jamie or Veronica, I was like, you know what? I'm 100% into this business. I understand the impact it can have. And I was fully invested in it. And just because I made that decision that day doesn't mean like my business had all its pieces together. I looked around and I was like, wow, like my business right now is kind of in shambles. I realized I didn't have relationships with anyone on my downline. I didn't even know some of the people who were on my downline. I didn't know any of their goals. I had never even talked to some of the people that some of my girls had recruited. And I noticed like a lot of people weren't working the business. So even though I said, yeah, I'm ready to go, I realized that by me not being 100% in from day one, that it had a huge impact on my business when I did decide that I wanted to go all in. And I share this with you guys because I think a lot of you guys, whether you already have someone on your team or you're trying to recruit someone on your team, like it's so important that you make a decision today that you're all in. Because if you decide in 6 months from now, like you're gonna push your business back so far, and you're gonna have to do a lot to make up for the fact that you weren't all in from day one. So kind of some tips of what I learned from my leadership journey that I wanted to share with you guys, because I just think it's important that you guys learn from my mistake, is one, by not showing up and taking it serious from day one, it really hurt my business. You have to be a leader, and no one's going to be a perfect leader. There's no here's the perfect way to do it, but it's showing up every day and trying to figure it out along the way and trying to learn and looking at people within our organization who are great leaders that you aspire to be and reaching out to them and be like, how can I be better? And taking it upon yourself to do that. So that was like a huge lesson that I learned. Another big thing, guys, is like when you don't show up for your team, you failed them. Like they trusted you to come into this business. You're the one who offered it to them. You're the one who put up this content saying, I'm going to mentor you, one-on-one training. I'm going to show you the roadmap. I'm going to do all of this. And if you're not doing that, that means you failed them. That means that you lied to them. That means that you're not meeting your half of the deal. And that's just the honest to God truth. And you have to realize if you're on social media saying that you're going to do that, then you 100% need to step up to the plate and do that every single day. And the next thing is just showing up for your team. So what does this look like? Like this can be a lot of different ways. One of the things that I have really tried to do is just be available. Like if someone needs me and they're like, can I call you real quick? I will literally step out if I'm like with my friends or something, like I got to take this call because that's a priority for me now because I want to show my team that I care and that I'm there for them. And that like what's going on in their business matters just as much to me and their goals matter just as much to me. Then the other way you can show up for them is rooting for them. Like I love to do shout outs on my story, in the chat, anywhere I can, or even just a personalized text just to be like, you're doing such an awesome job. Like, thank you for showing up. Like I see what you're doing. And it's not just ranks, guys. I don't just shout my team out because they hit MNP or MNB or whatever. It's like, hey, I saw you show up every single day. Why should I saw you show up today and make a post about market partners. Like, that's so awesome. Great job. Keep it up. All of those small things of just rooting for them and acknowledging their progress and acknowledging the fact that they're showing up, that gives them a boost. And as a leader, that's our responsibility to be their cheerleader and to be there to root them on. And then the other one is doing the work. So as a leader, like I will 100% not be like, oh, like go send out some offers today if I'm not going to send out an offer today. Like, and I used to do that. I'm like, yeah, I got to like go offer it out. You got to call your friends. You got to do this. And it's like, oh, but I'm sitting over here scared to do it, but I'm putting the expectation on my team. So like just being mindful of like, I'm not going to tell someone to do that if I'm not going to do that myself. Like I'm going to be doing the work. I'm going to be posting about the sale. I'm going to be going live because that's what I expect my team to do as well. The next thing is having an onboarding process. So I did not have one probably for the first 8 months of my business, 7 months of my business, like no idea what I was doing. And then luckily, like I had Jamie, Veronica, help me through that. And like, I literally like sat there and like read through it, asked questions and like took the time to understand what does the onboarding process look like? And like every single time I've onboarded someone within the last few months, like I felt so much more confident because I have a process in place. I don't have to think about it. It's just like, okay, day 1, do this, day 2, do this, day 3, do this. But it really takes you making the effort to go learn a process. But if you don't know a process, there's plenty of people on your team or another team that has a process that you can reach out to and they can walk you through it. But it takes you taking the initiative to ask for that help. Next, being authentic and honest. I think whether you're a leader or not, like as people, we should always try to be authentic and honest. I think in this business, sometimes, you know, like some of us start as strangers or we just met on social media and like, you know, things like that. But like always just try to come and be your true self. Because I think people can feel that energy and they can feel if you genuinely care about them, if you genuinely care about their goals and what they're trying to do. So just make sure that you're always showing up as authentic and you're being honest in the things that you are doing. So if I'm a leader, I'm not going to lie to you and say like, yeah, I sent out 5 offers today and I didn't really send out 5 offers. Because at the end of the day, like the universe knows that and like karma's going to come back to you. The next thing is a huge thing for me since I feel like I started this off, the business off on the wrong foot. And I think as a leader, you have to realize like people are watching you. And when you're not showing up or you're not doing the things you say you're going to do, like you lose people's trust. And so a huge thing is, let's say you didn't start off on the right foot, guys, like that's fine. But like your number one priority is gaining the trust back of your people. Like you need to show up every day. You need to go out of your way to like extra check on them, to extra show them that like, I'm here for you. Like I care about you because you're the one that kind of messed it up in the first place by not holding up your end of the deal when you said like, hey, you can come on board with me and I'm going to show you the way. So I made it a huge priority to try to gain my people's trust back, and show them that I'm here to stay. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not flaking out. I'm literally 100% in. Like, you guys are going to see me here in 5 years, 10 years. Like, I'm a lifer, as we like to call it. So hopefully you guys are lifers. If you're a lifer, put a 1 in the chat, because I hope everyone on this call is a lifer and is 100% in. And then my last point and my last lesson, guys, is it's never too late to change, to step up, and to go all in. I think sometimes we get in our head, it's like, well, I've already messed up. I've already failed. I've already done this. Like, no, get that out of your head. Maybe you didn't start off the right way, but that doesn't matter. Like, you can always start over, can always go back and readjust, and acknowledge the fact that to your team or to anyone else, like, hey, I know I didn't approach this the right way, but hey, I'm going to start trying to be a better leader. I'm going to start trying to show up differently. And people will respect that, because you can, talk about your faults and the fact that you didn't hold up your end of the deal. And that's all what people want from us, is to be honest, but don't feel like you can't start over. Like, anyone on this call can start over and be like, you know what, I'm going to go back to square one, and I'm going to, be a different person, be a different leader. And people will start to notice, and people will start to know your consistency, and people will start to be inspired by you. And at the end of the day, like, I look at this as part of my story. Like, I think at the beginning I was like, dang, like, my job, literally, like, my full-time job is a manager, and like, I lead people. So you think I would have like came in and like used those skills to be in this business, but I didn't. And I think it really was that belief factor for me. But I just think it's part of my journey and part of my story when I'm SED and I'm, putting my jacket on, like, to remind someone like, hey, I didn't start off hitting the ground running. I didn't start off as the best leader. I didn't start off as this, but guess what? I started over. I changed my path, and look where I am now. So you guys always have to remember, like, we're all on different paths. We're all on different journeys, and like, your path and your journey is going to inspire someone who's on a similar path as you. So it's all about your story. So don't get discouraged and don't think you can't start over. So I hope this was helpful for you guys, just to hear a little bit about my story and just a few like leadership tips from my perspective. And if you guys ever need anything or need someone to reach out to because you feel discouraged, you guys know I'm here for you, and I will make time for you. Doesn't matter if you're on my team or not. Like, I genuinely care and want everyone to be successful in this business. So I will let Veronica take over and give some of her tips on how to step up and be a great leader.
Cora, you're incredible. You're literally incredible. Your story is so cool. And it's crazy because I've watched her like transform her business. So it's been so cool to be a part of that process and to see that glow up happen. You had so many great speaking points. And 100%, and it's always okay to start over. There's so many people on this call who are, wanting to go all into their business going into the holidays, and that's okay. If this is your day one, if your day one starts now, that's totally all right. So a few of the things I want to talk about. So I personally think there's a few characteristic traits when it comes to leaderships. And if you guys know me, you probably, how do I mute? There we go. If you're on my downline directly, you've heard me talking about these day in and day out. If you're, I don't know who Paula is, but Paula, I can't mute you. So if you can mute yourself when you hop on, somebody let me mute you. The first thing I want to talk about when it comes to, in my opinion, one of the most important traits of leadership, if I can pick one out of everything, it's being selfless. Your team's goals need to literally be more important than your goals. And that has to be genuine. Because people can tell if it's not genuine. People can tell if you're bluffing. People can tell when you're trying to act a part, right? And to me, that starts at the beginning of the month, right? Doing one-on-ones with your team to know where their goals are from the beginning of the month. And then I personally map my goals around their goals. I don't map out my month and then do my one-on-ones. That logically doesn't make any sense, right? I map out my one-on-one, I map out my month based on my one-on-ones, because my whole first week of the month is pouring into my people and getting new girls started and getting the ball rolling with them so they have the whole entire month to get momentum. My job as a leader is to be buckled up enough to where I can invest the first 7 days into my people and then spend the remainder of the 21 days or whatever days I have left investing into my own business. And part of being a selfless leader is being a yes person. Like Cora mentioned, you have to be available for your people. You have to create space for your people. There has to be space for them in your life. There has to be space for them in your emotions and like in the energy that you carry every single day. And if you look at my week, I sometimes post my weeks on my Instagram. People are like, oh my God, like, do you have time to breathe? I mean, yeah, kind of, but I'll have time to breathe when all my girls are in caddies. Like, until then, if my girl says to me, hey, I want to hit MMB, and then they show up all month to hit MMB, I'm going to be available to help that girl hit MMB. I'm going to get up a little bit later. I'm going to go to bed a little bit later. Or I'm sorry, I'm going to get up a little bit earlier. I'm going to go to bed a little bit later. Thomas and I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like sacrifice your relationship, but like, I see him from like 10 p.m. at night, sometimes 10:30. Sometimes he's already sleeping, and it's temporary, but it's worth it for me because when I tell you I'm going to be there for you, I'm going to really, really be there for you. So such a huge part of being a selfless leader is genuinely recognizing that your team has to come first. Their goals have to literally matter more than yours. They have to. I don't look at my team and say, how much money do you all make me? I don't even calculate my bonuses. Like I literally just focus on how successful can I make you? How far can I push you this month? How many blocks can I have you build this month? How much can I transform the person you are today on the 1st? By the 31st of the month, how much better can I make you feel as an individual, as a person, right? That to me is so incredibly important. That's the first and foremost, is being selfless. And I think that's the one thing that I think a lot of times we underestimate, and we think us being selfless just means like posting them on social media and shouting them out. People can tell when you genuinely care. So that's the first thing. The second thing, when it comes to a strong leadership characteristic that I think is so valuable in building a team, is being the example. And to me, that falls in two different categories, okay? The first focus of being an example is being an example with your energy. You are the thermostat for your team. It's you. No one else controls how your team's energies and vibes are. You create it. So you have to consistently be asking yourself, do I bring the right kind of energy? Do I constantly make people feel good when they're around me? Like, do people, when someone's going through a hard day, do you get a phone call like, hey, I'm in my head. Can you talk me through this? Do you get a text message saying, thank you so much. You've made me feel so much better? Do you get a text? Every time you work with me, I literally feel like I can breathe again. Because guys, at the end of the day, we are in an online-based marketing company. Vibes, like, that's what we build our business off of. Like, people will flock to you based on your energy, point blank period. And you can't fake that shit. You can try, but it's impossible. I promise you. So the first and the most important part of being the example is creating the energy that you want for your team. Because once you start creating that energy that you want, you will begin to attract more of what you want. And you don't create that energy as your team grows. Your team grows around the energy that you create. And I think so often we wait for like people to come onto our team to create this environment. And that's what I did for such a long time. I waited. And then I was like, oh, now I have people. So I'm going to create the environment. No, fuck that. I've created the environment. And now I'm just bringing on tons of people that are like me. But I created that before they actually came into my business. So that's the first phase of, or the first, I guess, step of being the example in my mind. The second step of, or the second branch of being the example is within your work ethic and within your results. So at the end of the day, you guys, this business is built in two avenues: sales and team growth. That's what this business is based off of. If you aren't performing, if you aren't in the top 3 to 5 of your own team, and if you aren't closing 4 to 5 market partners a month, then you're not going to be able to teach other people how to do it. Period. Like there's no way to teach someone how to do something that you can't physically do. Titles, in my mind, they don't really mean anything. They mean nothing. You can hit MMB, but can you maintain it? You can hit MMP, but can you maintain it? Can you continue building? Do you continue bringing on new market partners? Are you continuing to build new leaders? Because at the end of the day, we all put one that we're lifers, right? We all put one that we want to hit the $1 million club. We all put one that we want to hit SCD. But to do that, you have to build an army. But to build an army, you have to set the standards. To set the standards, you as the leader of your team create those standards. So as much as like, and I'm not a metrics, if you're on my downline, I'm not like a metrics person. I don't push numbers, obviously. I just lead by the example, because if I'm leading by the example, then my team, my runners are going to duplicate what they see. So the way that I always think about this in this business, because I come from a direct sales office, okay? We used to go to conferences, and my mentor, her name was Sandy. Sandy was like she was God in Smart Circle. She was like, oh my God, you work with Sandy. How does she breathe? Does she freaking shit on a toilet? Like her poop's made of gold. Like she was God, okay? We would go to conferences and people would see me next to her, and it was like, you were proud to be a part of Sandy's organization. Like I gloated that was my mentor. I was so incredibly proud to be a connection of her. When people would be like, oh, you're Sandy 2.0, like that was so cool to me. You guys got to build that in this business. The way that I look at my downline, when someone goes on part of Veronica's team, I want people to be like, damn, what's it like? How are there so many winners on that team? How did you guys build that kind of organization? I want to create a winning culture. And the only way I can create a winning culture as a coach is by actually winning myself day in and day out. And until I can win myself day in and day out, my title means jack shit, means nothing. Because if I can't lead by example, eventually I'm irrelevant. So it's such an important thing to remember that you have to lead by example. And there's nothing to be proud of if you're not in the top 5. And I think it really is that important if you want to build a winning culture. So that's the second part of being the example. Number 1 is being the example with the energy, the space that you create for your people. And then the second is being the example for them within the results that you drive. Because again, the only way you're going to get to SCD is if you can actually build an SCD team. And the only way to build an SCD team is if you actually create the SCD qualities, right? And then the last thing that to me is everything. And I'm going to do a whole call on this next week, but it's communicating and knowing where you stand with your people. So within leadership, there's the 5 levels of leadership, right? And if you guys listen to John Maxwell or read John Maxwell, you should know these already. And if not, again, I'm going to do a call on it next week. So there's 5 levels. The first level that you're always going to be at with your people is the positional level. So the positional level, you guys, is the lowest level of leadership. People are, this is the level where people are following you because they have to. I'm your upline. You just sign up under me. What I say, you need to listen. They're following you because of this title that you gave them of your upline. You hold 0 value at this point to your people. I don't mean in a rude way, but you do. You hold 0 value. They don't know what you can offer yet. All they know is that they signed up underneath you, right? So that's the first level. It's the lowest level of leadership. On top of the positional level, there's the permissional level, which is level 2. Level 2 is based on relationships, okay? At this level, people are now choosing to follow you because they want to. In other words, they're actually giving you permission to lead them. This is normally when you bring on a new girl, it's like week 2 or week 3, where they start to recognize, oh, she really cares. Wow, you're really coaching me. Wow, you're really mentoring me. They start breaking down their walls and they start really listening. They sent me to Michigan and California just to meet Sandy. Yeah, people literally flock to Sandy's team. Yeah. Sorry, I just saw that in the comments. So people start following you because they actually want to. You're starting to breed value for them, right? And the only way that you can get to this level is by actually connecting and getting to know your people. The third level after the permissional level is the production level. So the best leaders know how to motivate other people to get things done because, again, they've been able to show that they can actually do it. So if I show you I can actually do it and I tell you, hey, if you do this, you'll get my results, people do it because they see you getting those results. The productional level, when you get to this phase with your team, is when your business starts to really change. It's when you start attracting sharper and sharper people. You start bringing on more A players because A players want to be around people who are high performers. They don't want to be a part of a losing culture. This next phase, so you're on phase 4 now, and this is where you really, this is like where you go from like MMB, realistically, I think like MM plus in my mind is people development. So people, this is basically reproduction. Your goal at this level is to identify and develop leaders. So at this level, people follow you because they understand, hey, she can teach me how to do what she's doing and teach other people. She can teach me how to lead. And that's a very important quality to have. And then the last level is the pinnacle level, right? So this is basically people follow you because of the organization you built. Jacqueline Ortega, Sam Gomes, Joe, like all these people that you guys look up to who none of us really know. We have no idea what they're like in real life. We follow them because they built this badass organization and we're like, okay, you obviously have value. So Why are these 5 levels important? Because you do not sit at the same place with every single person on your team. You influence every single person on your team differently. And as a coach, it's so incredibly important that you recognize where you stand so you can properly communicate and push them. If you're on my downline, you know I'm direct. I'm going to hold you accountable. I don't do any bullshit. You're either in or you're out, or get the fuck out of my way. It's one or the other, but I care. I genuinely care. However, the way I talk to, I'm just using names because I see you guys, Jenna, isn't how I talk to Amanda, which isn't how I talk to Beth, because I stand somewhere different with every single one of them. And more importantly, I have to re-earn that every single day. Leadership is earned on a daily basis. And I'll be honest with you guys, it takes that to lose it. It's so much quicker to lose that title than it is to gain it. And you constantly have to be rebuilding that relationship with your people. So it's so incredibly important to remember, number one, to recognize where you stand. And what I personally do, I don't know if you guys do this, but I have 9 notebooks, but I have a notebook specifically for my team. And if you're on my downline, once a week, I ask you, hey, what can I do better for you? Are there any things that you need me to do more of or less of? I'm constantly reevaluating where I stand. And when I start getting a bunch of people being like, no, everything's okay, you're good, there's a problem. There's a problem. If everything's okay, we're good. That means we're not growing. I need feedback. I need to know, hey, how can I be better for you? How can I be better for you? So I'm constantly reevaluating where I stand. And I really, really want, if you guys don't have the Leadership 101, you should get it because it's going to go over the 5 levels. But again, I'll run a call on it for you guys next week. I want to end this reading this really quick excerpt from a book. If you guys don't have Developing the Leader Within You by John Maxwell, again, this is a leadership book. You should grab it. But it's one of the last chapters. This is a workbook. So it's week 10. So by this point, you've already learned a lot of the qualifications of leadership. And the chapter is called Winning Teams Have Great Leaders, okay? And he goes, there's 2 ways that you can get others to do what you want. You can compel them to do it, or you can persuade them. Compulsion is the method of slavery. Persuasion is the method of free men. But persuading requires an understanding of what makes people tick and what motivates them, a knowledge of human nature. Great leaders possess that knowledge. If you understand what motivates people, you have at your command the most powerful tool for dealing with them. If you want to be a good leader, start by being a good fucking person to your people in every single aspect. Start by being a friend to your people. Start by being the person that pays attention to when something's off before they tell you something is off. Start by picking up the phone and just having a conversation. Because once you get to know your team to its core, it's called Developing the Leader Within You by John Maxwell. It's a workbook. It's a really, really great book if you guys don't have it. But once you get to know your people at their core, once you get to understand what motivates versus what makes them tick, once you understand how to read when they're in a mood, before they're in a mood, so you can play damage control. I'm laughing because Jenna knows what I'm talking about. So you can play damage control before it actually happens. That's when you guys are going to step into this next level in your business. And leadership can be taught. Leadership can be learned. Leadership can be built. But the only way leadership is going to be learned and taught and built is if you take the initiative to get the books and do the courses and watch the videos and actually implement the tools that are being given to you. Because whether you have a team of 10, a team of 0, or a team of just you do have value and you are able to lead. And whether you have someone on your crew or not, we have 32 people on this call that I'm sure need some kind of leadership, that I'm sure need some kind of guidance. Check on them. If you see a sideline who's getting wishy-washy and kind of going MIA, pick up the phone. There's something so powerful in being a good fucking person. And that's what this business is for. Because I'm going to be really honest with you guys, at the end of the day, a selfish, stubborn leader is never going to get to the top. And if you do, you'll never stay there. Not in this industry. It's a people-pleasing industry. If you can't learn how to be a people person, get out of the industry. And I know a lot of these are like, it seems intense. They seem like cutthroat, but at the end of the day, leadership is a muscle that's built over the course of time. And it's so important that you create the culture that you want for your team. And then you show up as the example that you want for your team 24/7. So let's make that commitment. There's 32 of us on this call right now. Let's commit to being selfless leaders for our team now and our future team. Let's commit to being selfless leaders for the family and the friends that we have around us who just need somebody. Let's commit to being good, selfless people. Because at the end of the day, the universe, you guys know me, the universe is always listening, and good things are always going to happen to good people, period. There's no way around that. There's just no way. It's a universal law. It can't be broken. I hope this helped you guys out. And again, I really, really want you guys to understand, if you're watching this call right now and you're like, well, I don't have anyone on my team, I really challenge you to pick up a phone and call a sideline and see what they need help with and become accountability buddies and show up for that person the same way you would for your team once that team is built. Do you guys have any questions for Cora or myself? No, nothing. Wow, we did a great job, Cora. That's amazing. Well, stay tuned. We're going to do a call on the 5 levels next week, and then we have Jenna running a call for us in the next 15 minutes. So I'll see you guys soon. Mwah.